my name's Rebecca and I'm really happy that you are here. It has been 8 months, maybe 9 months since I last recorded a video for you guys, and I'm very happy to be back. I am currently, surprise, 8 months pregnant, which explains the absence. Yes, very, very pregnant. It's the middle of the summer here in Australia. I'm coming to you from the countryside outside of Melbourne in Australia. So it is the middle of February, middle to end of February at the moment, and it's hot. But it's not too bad. I think I've lucked out with this summer season. I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful that I can still just wear dresses, because pregnancy is hard work, guys. So you can find me on Instagram. I have a new Instagram account, which is like a hybrid personal business account. So I'm in the process of setting up a handmade business, and that is at the.little.home.store. So you can find me on Instagram there. And this is a mainly knitting podcast, also sewing. I do love both. This has generally been a majority knitting podcast, I would say, but I've also got a very big sewing project that I want to share with you guys, and then I'll show you a little sneak peek of the business that I'm setting up as well at the very end. I have got many things to share with you, and if I look down here, it's because I have many notes, because my brain doesn't work anymore because I'm growing a little boy. It's a baby boy, by the way, and he is due middle of April, so I've got like 8 weeks left until he is born. Alright, so I hope you're all well wherever you are in the world. I know that the majority of you guys are going to be in the middle of winter, so I hope you are snuggled up. I hope you've got lots of lovely projects on your needles, and that you are keeping chirpy under the ridiculous circumstances that we are still living in. I'm not going to talk about COVID. I'm so bored of thinking about COVID, so this will be a COVID-free zone, you'll be pleased to know. Okay, so finished objects. I have a few others that I just can't be bothered to dig out because it's been so long. It's been 8 months, and actually probably for about 4 or 5 months of the pregnancy I was so sick. I was sick until, like, really badly sick, vomiting every day, until 20 weeks. So I've actually only been feeling better. I'm not going to say well, because pregnancy is hard work, but better, for about like 11 or 12 weeks, like 3 months or something. So I pretty much didn't pick up anything and made anything in the first like 5 months of the pregnancy. So this is what I've been producing kind of since then, and like I did a massive declutter of my knitting cupboard. I live in a tiny house, if you don't already know. So I have a finite amount of space for my knitting storage, and so I went through all of my bags, like my project bags and everything, and frogged a whole heap of stuff and finished a whole heap of stuff. So it's a nice hybrid and mix of things. So you might recognise some yarn being repurposed if you have followed along for a long time and you remember podcasts from like 8 months ago, which I'd be very impressed if you do. I'm currently drinking ice water because it's too hot to drink tea, which is saying something because I'm English. I can drink tea pretty much constantly. Alright, let's get into the finished objects. And also, I'm sorry if I sound croaky. I'm sorry if there's cockies in the background, cockatoos. They are just going mad. They're in all of the trees around us and they're not going to stop. So hopefully it's not too distracting. and I had my first COVID test this week. I mentioned the C word, I'm not going to go there. And I've been sick for the first time, like coldy, flu-y sick, and I'm getting over it, but I sound a bit husky, so apologies. All right, first finished object, I think might be one of the cutest. This is, it's kind of like a hybrid of patterns. So I have made Petite knits teddy sweater many times as gift knits, and I've also made a couple for this little bub as well. And so this is actually a hybrid. So I picked up, the yarn is Tailored Strands Brushed Alpaca. It's an Australian alpaca farm yarn. It says it's a 12 ply. It's very squishy. I kind of treated it like it was a 10 ply. So I used the Flax pattern, which is a free pattern by Tin Can Knits for this, and then I basically copied the teddy face from one of the other teddy jumpers by Petite Knit that I had produced. So it's like a hybrid, because the teddy jumper by Petite Knit I believe is a 4 ply, or it might be a sport weight, might be 4 ply with mohair held in sport weight. I used 5mm needles for this, and it's probably about a 3 to 6 month size ish, but it's super like stretchy and very soft. The texture is absolutely amazing. It's a brushed, I think, baby alpaca in this beautiful natural colour, and I think I just used a couple of skeins. It was a very, very fast knit, and I used some leftover Cascade 220 for the embroidered face. Baby knits, man, can't handle it. So cute. So that is my first finished object. My second finished object is, if you want to find out any information about my projects, I do project pages for all of my projects on Ravelry, and on Ravelry I am just Rebecca SJS, REBEKAH SJS. So you can find me on there and have a look through my project notes, and it'll be super easy to find all the pattern links and everything. My second finished object that I finished, this was actually, I think this was the first thing I knit after like when my sickness started easing at about 20 weeks. And then I very quickly got this on the needles, and it has a bit of emotional connection for me, because as I was knitting this beautiful baby blanket, it's just a little very sweet baby blanket, I was in the process of waiting for results. My dad has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he is in the UK. I'm not gonna cry. I'm in Australia. COVID, you know, saying the C word again, but the world is messed up at the moment, so I can't be with him during this really tough time. But the reason I'm saying this is because he bought me for Christmas, not this year but the year before, he bought me this 2 skeins of absolutely beautiful farm alpaca yarn that he picked up when he was on holiday with his partner, and I have just been kind of like waiting to know what to make with it, and it finally kind of dawned on me. So it was 200 grams of worsted weight alpaca yarn, and alpaca is tricky because it's so like drapey. You can see how much drape this blanket has, that I don't always think it's the best yarn for a garment, and also 200 grams of worsted weight yarn isn't that much. I'm not a major like hat wearer or cowl wearer. I'm definitely more likely to wear like a really big shawl. Sorry, my throat. So I was struggling to know what to make, and then I got pregnant, then I couldn't knit for a bit, and then I thought of a baby blanket, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough. It is quite a small blanket, but it's like perfect car seat kind of pram size. And this pattern is the Seashells blanket by Svetland Volkova, who actually designed one of my favourite jumpers that I've made like 5 times, called the Smaragd cardigan or pullover. So it's the same designer, and it's just a really, really intuitive knit, and I pretty much had it memorised after about 4 repeats, and I think there's maybe like 15 repeats in there. I did the smallest size. And it's just beautiful, and I love it, and it's the most incredible colours. Mixture of kind of light browns and whites and creams. There's a lot going on in there, and it's very thick and thin, a lot of texture, and it's so beautiful. So that was a beautiful little knit that kind of made me feel really close to my dad at a time where it was really tough. So yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. And again, it was one of the first projects that I worked on after like feeling really crappy for such a long time. So it felt so nice to really get into a project. I feel like this project really got my kind of knitting mojo going back, because it was so repetitive and it had that like emotional charge to it. And I can't wait to snuggle my baby in it. Alright, my third finished object is another Tin Can Knits pattern actually. It's Flax Light by Tin Can Knits. I have knit this so many times. I actually currently have one on as a work in progress as well. It's a fantastic free kiddie pattern, very simple. I'd actually recommend this as a great first jumper project. It goes all the way up from baby size all the way through to like adult 4XL, 5XL or something like that. So this is a little stripy number. I didn't do the purling, like the garter stitch ridges on the sleeves that the pattern actually has. So it's a very simple, just raglan construction, 4-ply yarn. Excuse me. This is an age 1 to 2, so it's going in the storage for a little bit. But the yarn that I've used, the brown, is leftover Tandy Polwarth yarn. It's a farm yarn from Victoria in a 4-ply, and then the creamy kind of variegated colour is Nunabai Yarn's 4-ply. And it's a hand-dyed yarn. She's no longer in business, but she dyes on white gum wool, which is a beautiful ethical Tasmanian merino farm yarn. So these were just some leftover little bits and bobs, very much a stash busting project, and I just love all the little variegated colours coming throughout it. It's so sweet. So I think he's going to look absolutely scrumptious in that. And my last finished object that I'm going to show you is this little guy. It's so sweet. Can't handle it. This is what's it called? Foxy Lopy sweater by Yana Markevich, butchering her name. This is the age 1 to 2. I actually did a bit of a hybrid of the her 3. I did her 3 to 4 year size for the kind of cast-ons and the widths, and then I did the depths to a 1 to 2 age size, because my yarn was a lot thinner than the recommended one, and I used a smaller needle size. So I use Clegg-Heaton's Country Naturals, which is an Aussie yarn. It's not my favourite, it's quite cheap. It's 100% wool, but it's super washy and it feels a bit super washy. It's got that kind of plasticky feel to it. And you can't split splice the balls together. So when you finish another ball of yarn, I always just take off a ply of both ends, overlap them, put a bit of spit on them or water and then felt them in my hand, and then you don't have to deal with any ends, and it doesn't work very well with this yarn or superwash yarns in general. I tend to go for kind of more woolly yarns if I can get my hands on them. We have a lot of merino in Australia. So this is the Foxy Lopy sweater. It's very, very cute. Such a sweet pattern. I fell in love with it. And what else to say? Oh, the brown is a little skein of Uist wool that my dad gave me when he was up in Scotland. They must have gone past a yarn shop which had Uist wool in it. And the red is some naturally dyed hand spun yarn that I picked up from the Spinners and Weavers Guild market stall at a farmer's market in Melbourne. And this is very cute. So this is age 1 to 2 as well, so it's going to be going away until next winter. I was going to start with works in progress, but actually I'm going to show you a couple of things as well. One of them is not made by me, but I have to share it because it's amazing. And the other one I made a little while ago, and it's a mixture of sewing and knitting, and I just want to share it because it's so cute. So this guy, isn't he the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life? Was made by my friend Judith, who I used to work with at a local yarn shop, and she surprised me with this beautiful guy and also a hand woven baby blanket. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this little guy is completely made by her, and I think it's her own pattern as well. He's got fully removable little overall dungaree things. So cute. And he's just the best thing that I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, thank you, Judith. It's absolutely amazing. So he is going to be very well loved and hopefully get very loved in and well worn. So amazing what you can do with knitting. And I think he's stuffed with wool as well. He's got such a sweet little face. I love his little fringy. I guess it's a he, it could be a she. I don't know. Gorgeous. And I made this little guy. So sweet. So he's got little corduroy ears and a little linen body. And he's a little bunny, and the pattern is Bunny Rabbit by Willowyn, WILLOWYNN on Etsy. And the pattern is very simple to follow and comes with maybe 3, I think it comes with 3 different things, a rabbit, a fox, something else maybe, or maybe it's just a rabbit and a fox. And then I knit this little jumper for him. I think I just cast on a basic raglan jumper. I didn't follow any pattern, and it's just a little bit of leftover yarn that I had in my stash. And doesn't he look so sweet? So he's not very movable, like he doesn't have joints or anything, but he's just very cute and really quite simple to make as well. So I wanted to share him with you because he's going to be very well loved as well. And now on to works in progress. What am I working on at the moment? So I've got a few bags here. Start with this one because this is the longest whip. I've got this in a little linen project bag that I made ages ago, and this is just another little Flax light by Tin Can Knits. This one has got the garter sleeves, sleeve sections like the pattern calls for, and the yarn that I'm using is Prosper Yarns. She's a wonderful New Zealand dyer, her 4-ply merino base. Very pretty, variegated, kind of like light blues, whites and greys and dark blues. Very simple pattern. I believe this is about a 6 to 9 month pattern, might be a 3 to 6 version, probably 6 to 9 months I would say by the size. Very sweet, so just a very simple pattern. It's been languishing. I did a bit of work on it recently, finished off the sleeve, finished off the body, and I'm just kind of hanging out on Sleeve Island at the moment. I've knit it so many times, it's getting a bit boring, but it's such a good base pattern to use. Sip of my water. The second work in progress I'm going to show you is living in this beautiful linen project bag. And I'm so excited about this project. It looks a bit funny at the moment. I'll show you the pieces. So I've got a little, it's all in a tangle, a little knitting moustache at the moment. And I've got this little guy here, and they're actually legs. Legs of some little overalls that are just too cute. Can't handle it. The yarn that I'm using is Brooklyn Tweed Loft in their postcard colorway, which is this absolutely gorgeous kind of grey, red, pinky colorway. And it's their 4-ply, kind of behaves a bit more like a sport weight, very, very lofty yarn, like the name would call for. Quite delicate yarn. This has been made into so many different things, and I've pulled it out, and it still seems to be fine. I picked up 2 skeins, so they're 50-gram skeins, and I picked up 2, so 100 grams of the Loft when I was at Loop London in 2018. And so it's got some lovely memories attached to it. And yeah, I'm really happy to be making these into some very cute little overalls. The pattern is called Willums Overalls by Petite Knit. If you're wanting cute baby knits that are quite simple, definitely check out Petite Knit. Fantastic. She does have a writing style which is more European. She doesn't mollycoddle you through the patterns in the same way that a lot of English speaking patterns do, but I find it very comfortable to read her patterns. I just wouldn't recommend them for like beginner knitters. So yeah, Willums Overalls by Petite Knit. I'm doing the 4 to 6 month size, so I'm hoping they'll fit. He's due in the middle of April, which is the beginning, it's like the beginning of proper autumn weather for us. So 4 to 6 months, it will be kind of deep dark winter going into early spring, so I think they'll be perfect. And yeah, I'm really happy with how they're turning out. This yarn just is glorious. I love it. It's got so many interesting colours in it. It's almost like a mixture of grey, charcoal and red, but when you kind of look at it, it kind of looks almost purple or pink. It's amazing. I like Brooklyn Tweed yarns, and I wish they weren't so expensive in Australia. And the final work in progress that I'm working on knitting wise is living in my beautiful Fringe Supply Co bag. And I cast this on 5 days ago, I believe. Yeah, because I cast it on the first day of our lockdown. We're currently in a 5-day speedy, very, very restrictive lockdown in Victoria, because we've had our first cases of the UK strain. I'm talking about COVID again, I'm going to stop. And there's not much to do in a lockdown. And so I cast on a colourwork sweater because I needed cheering up because I was feeling very poorly. And this is it, and I've made some serious progress. The pattern is called Azor, Azore, and it's by Orlane Sucche, who is Rosa Pomar on Instagram, and she also owns Retrosaria Wool Yarn, Portuguese yarn company. Beautiful yarns, very rustic. And this is one of her patterns. She's got some really lovely patterns. And I'm in love. It is a colourwork yoked sweater in I'm using a sport weight yarn. I think the pattern calls for a 4-ply, but this is working up perfectly. I'm using 3.5mm needles, and I'm using Cascade 220 Sport, which is this beautiful mustard colour. And I also used Cascade 220 Sport, I've got a tiny bit left, in a light pale grey as well for the colourwork. And I'm in love. So this mustard colour, I started a, what's it called? It was in the last podcast episode, a Jennifer Steingass pattern in it. And my body shape has changed, my boobs have exploded and got so much bigger, and so a lot of my jumpers that I have to wear this winter are going to be really tight on the chest because I have made them quite fitted, just because it works well over dresses and high-waisted jeans and all of that. But because my body shape has changed so much, I'm aware that quite a lot of the jumpers that I have might feel quite restrictive. And so I wanted something that was really kind of loose and like positive ease, I guess, and well fitted. And this is just amazing. It's got so many short rows in this. You can kind of see how much higher the back neckline is. And also there's a ton of short rows at the bottom here, like underneath the colourwork. And let's just talk about this colourwork for a minute, because it's heaven. So beautiful. I'll show you I love seeing the inside of colourwork. It's so satisfying. So that's the inside of the colourwork. So pretty. And it's just a really fun knit. So I have knit all of this in about 5 days. About that far down the body. It's quite a cropped sweater, which is tricky because I kind of can't really try it on because I've got a massive belly. But I'm probably just going to go with what the pattern suggests, which I think is like 9 inches. And then I'm actually going to do a split hem just because I love the way that sits. And I don't have a ton of yarn. I've got this much left. So I'm going to see how I go. I'm going to knit the body to the length before the ribbing, and then I'm going to work the sleeves. I'm probably going to do 3/4 length sleeves just because I always roll my sleeves up if they're not 3/4 length anyway. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a really snuggly, warm, postpartum, cozy jumper for me after the bubba comes and it cools down. But yeah, oh, heaven. Love colourwork. I love knitting colourwork as well. It's so satisfying. I am an English style knitter, but I throw the yarn, so I wrap it around my finger and I knit really quickly with it. And when I'm doing colourwork, I taught myself basic continental knitting, so I can hold the contrasting colour in my left hand and pick the contrasting colour whilst throwing with the main colour with my normal English style, and it's very fast for me. I would recommend, if you're an English style knitter, if you can get comfortable enough to just do basic knitting continental style, it'll make your colourwork tension. I find the tension really good that way. I struggle with tension if I'm dropping yarn. So if there's a third colour coming in, I have to drop and pick up that third colour because I haven't taught myself how to hold continental 2 strands. That would just brain explosion. And that way I find that my tension is a bit messed up at the back, but when I'm doing it my usual way, it's very kind of nice regular tension. My floats aren't too tight or anything like that, so that works out really well. Something that you can do if you're finding that your colour work tension, you're struggling, is actually just go up a needle size. That really helps a lot of people as well. A lot of people do that as a solution for colour work. And that is all of my knitting goodies to share with you. And I've got a sewing work in progress at the moment. Well, it's kind of like a finished object, work in progress, a mixture. I will show it to you. It looks so beautiful. This is my first proper quilt, like I've made like baby quilts, like basic baby quilts, but this is a queen size quilt for our bed that I am determined to get on our bed before this baby comes. It's made out of 100% linen. The pattern is called Tiny Tiles. It's a free pattern by Pearl Soho. I'll open it a bit more so you can see. And this is the quilt top, which I have now completed. And as I said, it's 100% linen, and all of the linen is from the fabric store. I think we are the fabric store on Instagram. We've got a shop of theirs in Fitzroy in Melbourne, but they also have them in Los Angeles and other parts of Australia, and beautiful fabrics. You might know them for quite a lot of sewists online use their superfine merino knits, because it's really hard to get hold of anywhere else, and they do a beautiful merino. And yeah, it's absolutely glorious. I've used their shell colourway as the main background colourway, which is a light, very, very, very light kind of whitey pinky colour, and then a whole range of different linen colours. I think there's like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 different linen kind of colours that I've used. Mustard and blue and green and some really beautiful dusty rosy colours. And I've been working on this very, very on and off for about a year, I think. But like with breaks of months and months and months and months in between, and I'll do a little burst of it, and then I'll kind of put it away and get overwhelmed by it, and then do another burst of it. And I finally finished it off a couple of weeks ago, and I'm in the process of trying to decide whether or not I pay somebody to quilt it for me on a machine, or I hand quilt it myself. And being 31 and a bit weeks pregnant, I don't think I'm up for hand quilting this myself, which is such a shame. But I really want it on the bed before the baby comes, so I might pay somebody to machine quilt it for me. And it's beautiful. So it's going to have a cotton mustard backing fabric to it, and I've got some cotton bamboo, what is it called? Batting, that's going to go in between. And I love it, and I'm so proud of it. And quilting's fun. So I'm very happy with that. And I think that is all of my finished objects and works in progress. The last thing I wanted to share with you is that I'm in the process of setting up a business. It's been something that I've wanted to do for the longest time. And having a baby in your belly is a surefire way of getting you to stop procrastinating and do the things that you have always wanted to do. My goal is to be able to at least partly be able to make an income from the home or my studio. I'm in the process of renting a beautiful little studio room for the business. And this is my lovely little business. It's called The Little Home, and I'm going to be producing individually handmade sewn pieces, a few little knitting pieces here and there. The whole emphasis is very producing things that are very well made, handmade by me, with a low waste footprint. A lot of linen. I'm hoping hemp at some point in the future as well, natural wools, and yeah, just sharing my creativity with whoever needs it. So this is my little business that I'm starting up. I'm really excited about it. I probably won't be selling anything until after the baby's born, and I have a bit of maternity leave, but I'm in the process of setting everything up at the moment, getting my patterns produced and all of that fun stuff. And it's really amazing because I've worked with small business owners and I've worked as a seamstress for other companies a number of times, and so it's really amazing to be able to kind of do this for myself. It's been a long time coming, and it's scary and it's exciting, but yeah, I'm happy to share that with you. And you can follow along on my Instagram. It's the.little.home.store for more information and just little snippets of my daily life. And I think that's everything I've got to share with you guys. Yep. Thanks for listening and being here with me. I hope you're doing okay. Comment below what you're working on. I love to hear from you guys. And lots of love from me and this little big boy. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.